Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going beyond those catchy headlines about robots taking over the world
Yeah.
and really digging into what the future of work might actually look like for you.
And we're not gazing into a crystal ball.
Right.
We're going straight to a source that's grounded in real-world data.
Okay.
The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report, 2025.
Yeah, this isn't some fringe theory.
No.
This report gathered insights from over 1,000 employers,
Wow.
representing a massive 14 million workers.
Huge.
We're talking 22 industries spanning 55 economies.
Global.
So it's a pretty solid snapshot of what businesses around the globe are thinking and, more importantly, doing to prepare for the future.
Exactly. It's one thing to speculate about flying cars,
Right.
but this report focuses on the practical shifts already underway.
Okay, so let's set the stage here.
Right.
What's the big question this deep dive is going to tackle?
The overarching question is this. How can you thrive in a job market that's being reshaped by forces like technology, globalization, and even climate change?
Yeah.
And to answer that, we need to understand what those forces are, how they're playing out differently across the world,
Okay.
and what skills will be most valuable in the years to come.
All right, so no more vague anxieties about the future. We're getting specific.
Absolutely.
The report talks about global job numbers actually growing overall by 2030.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's not as simple as everyone gets a job.
Right. The report predicts a net increase of 78 million jobs globally.
Wow.
But that number hides a more complex reality.
Okay.
They estimate a whopping 170 million new jobs will be created, while 92 million existing jobs will be displaced.
Oh, wow.
That's like shuffling almost a quarter of the entire global workforce.
Okay, now that is a lot of movement.
It is.
So even if there are more jobs overall, it's not about just holding on to what you have now.
Yeah.
It's about being prepared for that shift.
Precisely. And that's where understanding the specific trends driving these changes is crucial.
Okay.
The report highlights 5 major ones. Let's start with the one that probably comes to mind first.
Okay.
Technological change.
All right, let's talk tech. I'm already picturing robots taking my coffee order.
Uh-huh.
But seriously, what's the report saying about how technology is actually going to change things?
Well, first, it's not just about robots,
Right.
though automation is certainly a factor. Broadening digital access is actually identified as the most transformative trend overall.
Yes. All right.
Think about the implications as more of the world comes online.
Yeah.
It opens up new markets,
Yeah.
changes how business is done,
Right.
and impacts what skills are needed.
So technology is a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
It creates opportunities, but also disrupts existing ways of doing things.
exactly. And the report goes deeper into specific technologies,
Okay.
like AI and robots.
Uh-huh.
It's not just about shiny new gadgets.
Right.
It's about how these tools are being integrated into various industries, often unevenly.
Okay.
For example, AI adoption is much higher in tech sectors compared to, say, construction.
So someone working in construction might not feel the impact of AI as directly as a software developer, at least for now.
For now.
But this report doesn't shy away from the potential downsides of tech either, right?
Right.
I'm thinking job displacement,
Yeah,
especially for tasks that can be automated.
you're right. A full 86% of employers surveyed
Wow.
believe AI and information processing will significantly transform their business by 2030. That's a massive majority.
Yeah.
And while some new jobs will be created,
Uh-huh.
many existing ones will be lost. Right. Which brings us to another major trend,
Okay.
economic uncertainty.
All right, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
What kind of economic uncertainty are we talking about here?
Sure.
And how does it tie into this whole future of work picture?
Well, the report highlights 2 major concerns voiced by employers.
Okay.
First, the rising cost of living,
Yeah.
which is a major worry for about 50% of those surveyed.
Mm-hmm.
And second, a general economic slowdown,
Okay.
which concerns about 42%. These factors make businesses more cautious about hiring
Right.
and impact which skills they prioritize.
So it's not just about what skills you have,
Right.
but also how those skills can help a business navigate a potentially rocky economic landscape.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Now, there's another phrase in this report that sounds pretty intimidating.
Oh.
Geoeconomic fragmentation.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean, and what's the impact on jobs?
It's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is.
Essentially, it refers to rising geopolitical tensions
Okay.
and how that's fracturing the global economy. Think trade wars, protectionist policies,
Right.
even the ripple effects of conflicts.
Wow.
All of this impacts businesses in complex ways.
Okay, so less free trade, more barriers, and companies having to constantly adjust their strategies based on what's happening around the world.
Yeah.
That sounds stressful.
It definitely adds complexity, and businesses need people who can handle that.
Right.
This trend is influencing things like offshoring versus reshoring, and it's driving up the demand for specific skills like cybersecurity
Okay.
to protect against increased threats in this fragmented landscape.
Right. And probably also those soft skills,
Absolutely.
like adaptability and leadership to
Right.
navigate constant change and uncertainty.
You're reading my mind, the report emphasizes those as well.
Okay.
In a world where things are constantly in flux,
Yeah.
businesses need people who can think on their feet, problem solve,
Yeah.
and lead teams through turbulent times.
So important.
It is.
Yeah.
But let's not forget another major force shaping the future,
Okay.
the green transition.
Okay, let's bring in the environmental piece of the puzzle.
Right.
We all know climate change is happening,
It is.
but how does it translate into changes in the job market? Is it just about those green jobs we hear about?
It's definitely about green jobs.
Okay.
Think renewable energy engineers, environmental consultants, etc.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond that.
Okay.
The report highlights both climate change mitigation,
Mm-hmm.
reducing emissions.
For adaptation,
Okay.
dealing with the effects we're already seeing.
Yeah.
These are becoming priorities across industries.
So it's not just a niche concern anymore.
No,
It's becoming integrated into how businesses operate across the board.
exactly. This is driving growth in those specific green jobs, but also a broader emphasis on environmental stewardship as a key skill,
I see.
regardless of your role.
Interesting. So even if you're not, say, designing solar panels,
Right.
understanding environmental impact and sustainability is becoming increasingly important.
Precisely. And finally, we have demographic shifts, which are playing out differently around the world.
Okay. Last but not least, demographics.
Yes.
I know we're dealing with aging populations in some places, while others have booming youth populations.
Right.
How does the report factor that into the future of work?
It's a crucial piece of the puzzle
Okay.
because these different demographics create distinct challenges and opportunities.
For example, aging populations often lead to a greater need for healthcare professionals
Yeah.
and a focus on managing an older workforce.
That makes sense. But what about those regions with rapidly growing youth populations?
Sure.
What does that mean for their job market?
Well, that's where things get really interesting
Okay.
and perhaps a bit more nuanced than those simple more workers, more jobs headlines would suggest.
All right.
The report actually dives deeper into that very topic,
Okay.
exploring the potential benefits and pitfalls of this demographic dividend, as they call it.
All right. Now I'm really intrigued.
Good.
Sounds like we're about to get into some specifics about which jobs are growing, which are fading,
Yep.
and maybe bust some myths about those demographic trends.
Exactly. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks here. What's the report actually saying about which jobs are on the rise and which ones might be on their way out?
Well, the report lists the fastest growing jobs, and it probably won't surprise you that tech dominates the top spots. We're talking big data specialists, AI and machine learning specialists, software developers.
Right.
Those kinds of roles are in high demand.
Okay, that tracks with everything we've been discussing about technology's impact. But what about those green jobs we talked about?
Yeah,
Are they really growing as much as the report suggests?
they absolutely are.
Wow.
Renewable energy engineers,
Hmm.
environmental engineers, sustainability consultants. These roles are seeing significant growth, reflecting the importance of the green transition.
So it's not just about coding and algorithms, it's
Right.
about building a more sustainable future, too.
Yes.
Now, for our listeners who might be in fields that aren't directly related to tech or sustainability, what does the report say about jobs that are declining?
Unfortunately, there are some roles facing decline,
Yeah.
primarily those that involve tasks that can be easily automated.
Okay.
We're talking about certain clerical work factory jobs and roles like bank tellers and postal service clerks, which are mentioned specifically in the report.
That's a bit of a reality check, isn't it? It is.
It highlights the need to be adaptable
Yeah.
and maybe even consider upskilling or reskilling if your current job involves a lot of repetitive tasks.
Exactly. And before we move on from specific jobs, it's crucial to remember that job growth isn't uniform across all regions.
All right.
The report talks about a demographic dividend in lower-income countries,
Okay.
where a growing working age population is driving job creation.
Okay. I remember we touched upon this earlier. Demographic dividend sounds like a good thing, but you hinted that there's more to it than meets the eye.
Right. It essentially means there are more potential workers available,
Yeah.
which can be a boon for economic growth. However, the report cautions that even with this boom, many young people might struggle to find decent jobs in these countries.
So quantity doesn't necessarily equal quality when it comes to jobs.
Exactly.
Mm.
The report raises important questions about whether these new jobs will provide decent wages, benefits, and career paths. It suggests that simply having more workers doesn't automatically translate into a thriving economy.
It's about having the right jobs, the right skills, and the right support systems in place.
That makes a lot of sense. It sounds like we need a whole other deep dive to really unpack the complexities of those demographic trends.
We do.
But for now, let's focus on what individuals can do to stay competitive in this changing landscape.
Okay.
The report stresses the importance of reskilling and upskilling, right?
Yes.
But what does that look like in practice?
It's not just a buzzword, it's a necessity.
Okay.
The report estimates that a staggering 59 out of every 100 workers,
Wow.
that's almost 60%,
Yeah.
will need some form of training by 2030.
Hmm.
That really drives home the point that lifelong learning is the new normal.
Wow, those numbers really put things into perspective. So what are the specific skills we should be focusing on?
Okay.
I'm ready to take notes.
Well, the report highlights a mix of tech skills and human-centric skills as being crucial for the future. On the tech side, we're talking about AI and big data cybersecurity and general tech literacy.
Okay, that makes sense given everything we've discussed about digital transformation.
Yeah.
But you mentioned human-centric skills too. What exactly are those and why are they so important in this increasingly tech-driven world?
That's a great question. Human-centric skills are those that are uniquely human.
Okay.
Things like creative thinking, complex problem solving, communication, collaboration, leadership, emotional intelligence, and adaptability.
Yeah.
These are skills that machines, at least for now,
Right.
can't replicate.
So it's not just about being able to code.
No.
It's about being able to think critically, solve problems, and work effectively with others.
Exactly. And the report goes even further,
Okay.
highlighting that these human-centric skills are not only valuable, but may become even more valuable as technology advances. The report cites an analysis from Indeed,
Okay.
which found that generative AI, while impressive in its capabilities, is currently weakest in these areas.
That's fascinating.
It is.
So if AI is still struggling with things like creativity and emotional intelligence, that suggests humans have a distinct advantage in these areas.
Exactly. It means that developing these skills could be a key differentiator in the future job market. But it's also important to recognize that certain skills are declining in importance.
Okay, so what skills are on the way out?
Well, the report highlights skills like manual dexterity, simple data entry, and basic repetitive tasks as being on the decline. This makes sense given the rise of automation and the increasing sophistication of AI.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it seems like the future of work will value skills that are uniquely human skills that machines can't easily replicate.
You've hit the nail on the head, and that's a hopeful message.
It is.
It means that we have the power to shape our own future by developing the skills that will be most valuable in this new world of work. But it's not just up to individuals. The report also dives into what employers are doing to adapt to this changing landscape.
All right, let's talk about what businesses are actually doing to prepare for this future.
Well, reskilling and upskilling their workforces is at the top of their agenda. The report found that 50% of workforces have already completed some form of training in 2025,
Okay.
up from 41% in 2023.
Okay, so companies are putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to investing in their employees.
Yeah.
But what about the other 50%? What's happening to those who aren't getting training?
That's a crucial question, and it's one the report doesn't shy away from. While it's encouraging that training is becoming more common, there are still significant gaps.
Okay.
The report estimates that 11 out of every 100 workers likely won't get the training they need.
That's a concerning statistic. It highlights the need for policies and programs that ensure everyone has access to training and support, regardless of their industry or background.
Absolutely. Beyond training, employers are also taking other steps to adapt. They're increasingly automating tasks, especially in sectors like electronics, where 87% of employers are focused on automation.
So those robots we talked about earlier are really making their presence known in some sectors. But what about sectors where automation isn't as feasible? What are they doing?
They're adapting in different ways.
Huh.
For example, many are hiring for new skills,
Okay.
creating more competition for talent in certain fields, and some are even completely reorienting their businesses around AI, which is quite a radical shift. But beyond these specific actions, the report also explores how the other macro trends we discussed are shaping employer strategies.
Okay, let's circle back to those other trends. How is economic uncertainty impacting the way employers are thinking about the future of work?
Well, in times of uncertainty, businesses naturally become more risk-averse and focus on efficiency. The report points out that this is driving demand for roles that can boost productivity,
Okay.
like AI specialists, data analysts, and business development professionals who can identify new growth opportunities.
So if you can help a company do more with less,
Uh-huh.
your skills are likely to be in high demand even when the economy is shaky. What about geoeconomic fragmentation? How are employers dealing with the challenges of this increasingly fractured world?
It's definitely a major concern for businesses operating globally. The report emphasizes the importance of cybersecurity, as we discussed,
Right.
but also those soft skills that are crucial for navigating complexity and uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about adaptability, leadership, intercultural communication, and what they call global citizenship,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to understand and work effectively in different cultural contexts.
Okay, so in a world where borders matter more, businesses need people who can bridge those divides, both technically and culturally. Makes sense. Now, what about the green transition? How is that shaping employer strategies?
It's becoming a major focus for businesses across the board, driven by both the urgency of climate change and the growing expectations of consumers and investors. The report emphasizes that environmental stewardship is becoming a key skill regardless of your role. Companies are looking for people who can help them reduce their environmental impact, develop sustainable products and services, and tell their sustainability story effectively.
So it's not just about being good at your job.
No.
It's also about being mindful of your impact on the planet.
Absolutely.
And finally, what about those demographic shifts we talked about? How are employers adapting to aging populations in some regions and booming youth populations in others?
That's a complex issue, and the report offers some intriguing insights. When it comes to aging populations, there's a growing focus on talent management, mentoring, and understanding the needs of an older workforce. Companies are realizing that older workers bring valuable experience and knowledge to the table,
Yeah.
and they're looking for ways to retain and engage this segment of the workforce.
So it's not just about attracting young talent, it's about valuing the contributions of experienced workers as well.
Mhm.
But what about those regions with rapidly growing youth populations? What does the report say about how employers are navigating that?
That's a topic that deserves its own deep dive because
Yeah.
there are a lot of nuances to unpack.
Right.
While a larger workforce can create opportunities, it also presents challenges in terms of creating enough jobs, ensuring those jobs are good quality, and providing the necessary education and training to equip young people with the skills they need to succeed.
Okay, it sounds like we've only scratched the surface of that particular issue. But before we get lost in those demographic complexities, let's circle back to what we've learned so far about the Future of Jobs Report 2025. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the rise of AI to the growing importance of sustainability and the complexities of demographic shifts.
Yeah, and we've gone beyond just listing trends and statistics. We've explored what these changes actually mean for individuals, businesses, and policymakers.
So for our listeners who are feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this information, what are the key takeaways they should remember?
I think the most important takeaway is that the future of work isn't something that's happening to us. It's something we're actively shaping through the choices we make today.
That's empowering.
Mhm.
So it's not about passively waiting to see what happens. It's about taking control and preparing ourselves for the changes that are coming.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that preparation involves both individual action and collective efforts from businesses and policymakers.
All right, let's break that down. What can individuals do to stay ahead of the curve and thrive in this evolving job market?
Well, first and foremost, embrace lifelong learning.
Yeah.
Identify the skills that are in demand in your field, both the tech skills and those essential human-centric skills, and actively seek out opportunities to develop them. There are so many resources available online, from free courses to boot camps to degree programs.
Right. It's about investing in yourself and constantly expanding your skill set. And as we discussed earlier, those human-centric skills are becoming increasingly valuable. Those are the skills that differentiate us from machines and allow us to navigate complexity, solve problems, and connect with others in meaningful ways.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But it's not just about individual effort. Businesses also have a crucial role to play.
So what can businesses do to support their employees and create a more adaptable and resilient workforce?
They need to prioritize reskilling and upskilling initiatives. It's not just about offering training programs, it's about creating a culture of continuous learning within their organizations.
Yeah.
This means providing employees with the time, resources, and support they need to develop new skills and stay relevant in a changing job market.
And policymakers also have a role to play in supporting this transition, right? What can they do to create a more equitable and sustainable future of work?
Absolutely. They can invest in education and training programs, particularly those that focus on skills that are in high demand, but often inaccessible to those who need them most. They can also create policies that incentivize businesses to invest in their workforces and support lifelong learning.
It sounds like a collaborative effort.
It is.
Individuals need to take ownership of their own development. Businesses need to provide support and opportunities, and policymakers need to create an enabling environment.
Exactly. It's about creating a system that works for everyone, one that empowers individuals to adapt and thrive, supports businesses in remaining competitive, and ensures that the benefits of technological advancements are shared broadly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one final thought you want to leave our listeners with? Something that goes beyond the specific findings of the report and really gets them thinking about the bigger picture.
We've talked a lot about how AI is transforming the workplace, but the report also touches on something even more profound: the changing nature of work itself. It's not just about new jobs and new skills, it's about rethinking the very concept of work and its role in our lives. As technology continues to automate more tasks, we have an opportunity to reimagine what work could look like. What if we could create a future where work is less about repetitive tasks and more about meaningful contributions, where it's less about earning a paycheck and more about fulfilling our potential?
That's a powerful idea. It's not just about adapting to the changes that are happening, but about using this moment to create a better future of work for everyone.
Exactly. We have the power to shape this future. The choices we make today will determine what that future looks like.
Well, listeners, there you have it. A deep dive into the future of jobs filled with insights, challenges, and possibilities. What stood out to you most? What actions will you take based on what you've learned today? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.